Good morning, Stingrays. This is your maths work for today. So we're looking at using ratio language. So match the statements with the correct representation. So looking at the statements on the left-hand side, and we're looking at the representation, so the pictures, the shapes on the right-hand side. So for every 3 squares, there are 2 circles. So I'm looking and I'm seeing 3 squares. So there's an important statement there, 3 squares, there has to be 2 circles. So 3 squares here, and I'm looking for 2 circles. So 3 squares, 2 circles. I'm seeing that that is a repeating pattern, so I can see that this one and A, so number 2 and A match. So 3 squares to 2 circles. So I'm looking now for 2 squares and 3 circles. So 2 squares, get my highlighter, 2 squares, 2 squares, 1, 2, and 3 circles. Am I right here? 3, 3. Well, I've got extra circles, so it cannot be that one. Let's have a look at the next one. So 2 squares, 3 circles. Have a look, 3 circles, 2 squares, 3 circles. And you can see I haven't got any left. And then the final one, 4 circles for every square. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 circles and a square. 1, 2, 3, 4 and a square. So the language that we're going to be using today is there are so many circles to squares. It can be any shape or pattern or object, and for every. Okay, it's very important with ratio. So for example, the question could be for every 3 fish, there are 6 chips. Have a go at drawing that down now. So pause the video and draw that down. Now I'm going to show you a video from White Rose, and this will help explain the task just a little bit more.
Hello there. So we're going to have a look now at using ratio language, and we're going to start off with a story. And the story we're going to start off with is, for every 3 eggs, there are 2 slices of toast. Which of the images represents this story? So have a look at a second for a few of the images below, and have a little think. And the image that we represent this story would be the second one. That's the image, and we can see there are 3 eggs and 2 slices of toast on that picture. Now let's look at this story. For every 2 bananas, there is 1 apple. Which of the images represents this story? Well, we can see our first image is 1 pineapple to 1 strawberry. The second is 1 banana for every 1 apple. The third is 1 banana to 2 apples, which is close, but the fourth one is the one we're interested in. We can see there are 2 bananas for every 1 apple. So we can see in our story, for every 2 bananas, there is 1 apple. That is the picture that represents our story. Let's look at our next story. For every 2 bananas, there is 1 apple. Which of the images represents this story? Well, I'm having a look. I can't see any of the pictures that match it directly. Let's have a look at the first image. Well, I can see that in the image, there are 2 bananas to 2 apples. This doesn't match our story. Let's look at the next one. 2 bananas and 4 apples. So for every 2 bananas, there would be 4 apples. This doesn't match our story. Let's have a look at our third one. Well, whilst it doesn't match 2 bananas to 1 apple, if I can picture a line travelling through the middle, I can see how on the left I have 2 bananas to 1 apple, and on the right I have 2 bananas to 1 apple. This matches our story. The fourth image. We can see for 3 bananas there are 2 apples. This doesn't match our story. Our story now is for every 2 lollipops, there are 3 sweets. Which of the images represents it this time? Well, again, none of the pictures show just 2 lollipops and just 2 sweets. However, if I look at the second image, I can picture moving 2 of those lollipops. Now I can see at the top of the image I have 2 lollipops and 3 sweets. And at the bottom I have 2 lollipops and 3 sweets. This matches our story. And whilst the others may include 2 lollipops and 3 sweets, they don't match our ratio story. Right, this time out we're going to have to think for ourselves. For every 4 squares, there is 1 circle. What does this look like? Well, I might start drawing this out. 1 square, 2 square, 3 square, 4 square, and a circle. Does this match our story? For every 4 squares, there is 1 circle. Yes, it does actually. That does represent our story. But I don't have to stop there. If I drew another 4 squares and 1 circle, this would still match our story. What happens if I drew another 4 squares and another circle? Does this still match our story? What about now? Does this still match our story? And we've added another row in. Would this still match our story? I can see from the picture that I can always match 4 squares to 1 circle, and it matches our story. Now it's your turn. Have a go at the worksheet.
So I hope that video made sense. This is your worksheet for today, so you can just record these in your maths book. Remember to write out the statements. So first question, for example, complete the sentences. For every 3 sheep there are how many cows? And for every 2 cows there is 3 sheep. Then moving forward, so going deeper, more problem solving, we're looking at question 6. So write 3 different for every sentence for the cubes. So one example could be for every 3 red cubes, there are 2 yellow cubes. Okay, think about what you may have. Is that correct? I've only looked at the first one here and got 3 red cubes and 2 yellow. But then I look here, next 3, and I haven't got 2 yellow. I've only got 2 yellow left, but all these red cubes left. So think about them. You may need to draw them out and have a look. Good luck with your work. The answers will always be on the website as well, so you can check them.